The New York Jets are making moves as Darren Mougey and the New York Jets front office has just made a major addition by bringing in Rick Spielman to the New York Jets front office in a significant role. Spielman had a major part in hiring Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn and also turning around the Washington Commanders as the New York Jets take another step towards competence as now things are looking real good for the team, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe. If you're part of that 80% of viewers who's not subscribed and you want daily New York Jets news, rumor reports, updates on trades, mock drafts. Eventually, live streams are going to be coming once free agency gets underway. Once the Jets make some signings, once free agency gets crazy, we will be going live from Jets Digest to react to all of it and discuss all the rumors surrounding the New York Jets. You guys do not want to miss out. We have a bunch of fun stuff planned for the channel, including me making Matt do TikToks, which is going to be just, hilarious to see because he's just going to be so upset. Guys, if you've been watching the channel for a bit and you know Matt well enough, he's going to be furious making TikToks. But he'll do it. But he's going to hate it. He's going to complain to me a lot, and it's going to be really funny. So, if you guys want to see Matt make some TikToks, make sure to subscribe. Get us to 3,000 subscribers with it by Sunday, and I promise you I will start making Matt make TikToks. But up until then, let's talk about the New York Jets. The Jets are in a better position than they've been in a very, very long time. After last year's just severe disappointment, they overhauled everyone. Aaron Glenn became the head coach. We saw Joe Douglas get fired halfway through the season. We saw Robert Saleh get fired 5 games in. We saw Jeff Ulbrich not return and go to the Falcons now. The whole past regime is gone, and that's probably for the best. The New York Jets have brought in Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn to try to start a new era in New York for the New York Jets. Now, part of that was bringing in Rick Spielman, who actually was already hired by the Jets as a consultant in a different way. Rick Spielman and Mike Tannenbaum run the 33rd team, which basically every Jets fan knows by now is the 33rd team had a massive impact on who the New York Jets hired. Spielman was actually involved in the interviews for both the Glenn and Mougey, but then they got hired, so Spielman's time with the Jets was up until he got the call from the New York Jets saying that they wanted him to stay on and replace Phil Savage. We saw Phil Savage, the Jets' acting interim GM, get his role basically demoted to where now he's just an advisor to where he basically just hangs out and gives his opinion and people listen or they don't. That's the entire thing. If you ever hear X has been hired as a special advisor, and this goes for every sport, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, no matter what the sport is, if it's a 4 major American sport where there's a front office that I know how it works, which is the 4 major Americans, well then, a special advisor is, hey, well, I think we should do this. Cool. Sounds good. Maybe we will. And then they get paid by the owner because, well, they're liked. They're a joy to be around in the organization, and people like them, so they get paid to hang out, essentially, and give their opinions. So, it's a pretty sick role, if we're being honest, that Phil Savage is in, but, well, it was revealed that Rick Spielman's going to take on the bigger role. As mentioned by Rick Cimini, former Vikings general manager Rick Spielman, who assisted the New York Jets in their searches for a GM and a head coach, has accepted a full-time position with the organization. And Spielman spoke out on this saying, I will be helping in any way that I can with Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. My biggest project will be trying to rebuild the football operations side of things. So there's a lot of changes that will be going on here. I feel honored and privileged that they would call me and ask me to be a part of it going forwards. Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey are the final decision makers. I'm just there as their sounding board. So look, Spielman's been a GM for 9 years with the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings had a good amount of success under Spielman. The man just... Sorry, wrong button. The man, look, they had a positive record for that time period. Ever since Spielman even took over or was part of the Vikings, they had a 133 and 122, or 132, 123 and 2 record. So Spielman was positive. He was also positive when it was just the pure GM role. It was like 16 games or so over 500. So we saw a lot of success for a guy like Rick Spielman, who came into the New York Jets and did have a lot of success. The exact stats are 87, 72, and 2 between 2012 and 2021 when he was the GM of the Vikings. He eventually ended up getting fired as he kept butting heads with the Vikings coaching staff and all that. And Rick did make a few interesting moves. He tried to trade up for Justin Fields, which would have been a mistake. But that didn't end up happening. The New York Jets have found themselves in a good position, though, with Rick Spielman, where he's going to be an advisor and help rebuild a side of football that he knows well. At the same time, Spielman, 62, replaces Phil Savage, who will remain as a consultant. Savage finished the season as the interim GM after Douglas was fired in November, which we know. And on top of this, Rick Spielman mentioned that right now, his biggest project is trying to rebuild the football operations, and we already saw all this. But he's mainly just going to say that he had his day in the sun. We've seen the first part of this already. But he also then said, I don't need to make the decisions. I don't want to make the decisions anymore. I really don't. I had my day in the sun. This is good. This is the good and the bad. What I enjoy the most is sharing experiences. Well, Rick now gets to share experiences. He now gets to essentially be this guy who Glenn and Mougey can come to for advice and who understands the business of the NFL because he's been around in multiple different roles, whether he was an assistant GM or the assistant vice president / general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, and now in this role with the Jets. Mougey's a first-time GM. He's going to have questions. Rick Spielman can answer those questions. There's certain things that about a new job that you've never had, even if you've had similar jobs and worked for people whose job that you now have, it's still you're going to have questions on how to do things. Rick Spielman is going to be basically that. He's going to be that sounding board. He's going to give guidance to anyone who needs it. He'll be there for Aaron Glenn as well. Aaron Glenn said, being a first-time head coach, he wanted to bring in guys on the coaching staff with experience, and he did that. And now on top of that, there's a guy in the front office with experience who both Mougey and Glenn can lean on when they need to. This is excellent for the Jets. And I mean, we saw Rick Spielman have a ton of success throughout his NFL career, whether it was making a trade, moving Percy Harvin for the pick that became Xavier Rhodes with the Vikings, or taking over with the 33rd team with the Commanders and having them hire guys who had a ton of success with them, and Dan Quinn, who became a great head coach, and the Jaden Daniels pick ended up happening, and the Commanders became a game away from the Super Bowl after literally having a top 2 pick in the NFL draft the year prior. Everything that's going right for the Commanders is very heavily impacted by what the 33rd team did, and the 33rd team now wants to do the same with the New York Jets. Mike Tannenbaum was the GM for the Jets for a while, and now Rick Spielman, who never worked for the Jets outside of being the 33rd team consultant, now does, and he understands a lot about the Jets through this process, and outside of that, he understands how to turn a team around because he just did it with the Commanders. Now he gets to be on the inside of things and essentially still just help the football operations side of it, which is essentially, he's not making the trades. Yeah, he'll give his input and that type of information, but he won't be the big influence. He even said he wants it to be Glenn and Mougey. He's just there for their sounding board, and outside of that, he's there to help out when they need it, and he's just trying to righten the ship. The Jets are last season were known to just be a dumpster fire when it came to their operations and everything, and now that's being flipped around. Spielman is going to come in there and clean house and and essentially just clean everything up, fix all the problems that the Jets had, all the dysfunction that he hears about going on there. He's going to go into the Jets front office, make some tough decisions. There might be some guys who get fired or stuff, but what we will see is Rick Spielman make this a professional environment that knows how to win and that operates as a winning team, and that is something that is very, very important to see for the New York Jets, and I'm really excited to see this. I think it's an excellent move for the Jets, so I look forward to seeing how Spielman will affect them. He's already affected them positively, making moves that in a very promising GM in Mougey, and on top of that, also bringing in Aaron Glenn, who all Jets fans wanted. Now, guys, let me know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.